There are still very few companies run by women these days, and clearly there are many reasons for that, including what many see as the role of both unconscious bias and outright sexism. Tonight, our economics correspondent Paul Salman explores another potential connection, whether there's a link between risk-taking in leadership, testosterone, and the perceptions around gender. It's part of his ongoing weekly series, Making Sense, which airs every Thursday.
Welcome, everybody, to this CNBC discussion on the future of banking at the World Economic Forum.
Financial CEOs at Davos this year.
Good morning, Mr. President. Andrew Livers, Dow Chemical.
Manufacturing CEOs at the White House.
CEO of Ford. Chairman of Caterpillar.
Some of the great people in the world of business.
CEOs now being mentioned as the next president. But in 2017, the vast majority of CEOs, 96% of the Fortune 500, are still men.
I think that this is socially constructed. The differences between males and females on a wide variety of things are smaller than the differences within males and within females.
Psychologist Jennifer Lerner studies gender and leadership at Harvard. We'll hear more from her in a bit. But first, let's check in with economist Andy Kim, who's made a career out of studying CEOs in intriguingly quirky ways.
You're gripping this horse, right?
Oh, the reins.
Now, a few of you might remember Andy Kim teaching me 2 years ago the equestrian dance move in the hyper-viral video sensation Gangnam Style, part of his offbeat research showing that CEOs who become visible for whatever reason can see their stock price rise irrationally. Well, he presented his brand new research, not yet published, at this year's annual economics convention. His latest hypothesis is as offbeat as ever.
There is a strong linkage between your facial masculinity and your risk-taking behavior.
Kim is now exploring a possible link between CEO risk-taking and the hormone testosterone, which, starting with mid-19th century experiments on roosters, has been linked to male dominance and aggression throughout the animal kingdom. But how do you measure testosterone in CEOs with little time and probably even less inclination to give Korean assistant finance professors blood or saliva samples? One possible way, thought Kim, would be to study their facial bone structure.
So this is Mike Tyson's face, obviously a high testosterone guy.
And not just because he was a notoriously aggressive heavyweight champion, claims Kim, but because of the ratio of his facial width.
Measure the distance between your cheekbones, where your ears are attached to your skull,
to his facial height.
From the point where your skull is linked to your teeth, to the point between your eyebrows.
That's the ridge here?
It goes together with your eye hole in your skull.
Yeah,
right.
Now, the science here is far from settled, but facial width to height ratio, a skull measurement technique developed by archaeologists, has been proposed as a proxy for masculinity on the theory that it's influenced by exposure to testosterone.
The idea is more masculine, wider face.
The typical ratio in men, Kim has found, 1.8. And mine?
Yours was 1.83, which is
just average. And exactly the same as Justin Bieber's, by the way. Muy macho Mike Tyson, 2.28. Not far behind at 2.17, Jack Ma, according to Kim.
Very high testosterone CEO.
And a very successful one as founder of Alibaba, the Chinese e-commerce firm bigger than Amazon and eBay combined. Kim thinks a man's facial width to height ratio does correlate with testosterone, but even if it doesn't, he has a provocative finding: that the average score for 1,162 CEOs, measured by neutral third parties, was a significantly higher than average 2.0. Even more striking, the wider the face, the higher the correlation with risk-taking.
Your hypothesis was the more masculine, as revealed by facial width to height ratio, the more testosterone, and therefore the CEO is going to take more risk. How?
Borrowing more.
Borrowing more money.
Another part of it is mergers and acquisitions. You want to have higher social status. You want to take over your competitor and become a bigger guy.
And this turns out to be true?
Yes, that's what we find in our paper. Not only does the guy more frequently merge, but he spends more money on acquisition every year.
And then there's testosterone's well-established connection to vocal pitch. At any given age, the lower the pitch, the higher the testosterone. A relationship Andy Kim has also begun to study.
We look at vocal masculinity.
Vocal.
Yes.
This is a low voice as opposed to a high voice.
Exactly. More masculine guys, they tend to be borrowing more. All consistent.
There is a systematic relationship there, and it's all explained through testosterone as a kind of social dominance hormone.
Jennifer Lerner doesn't study facial width or vocal pitch. Instead, she measures testosterone levels directly of leaders enrolled in advanced programs at the Kennedy School of Government.
We do it through saliva, and we have them drool, which can be a little bit amusing because we have, you know, 3-star admirals and
Drooling 3-star admirals.
it turns out that highly successful people love to be studied.
And one study of 78 men published last year seems to support the first part of Andy Kim's hypothesis, that male leaders have higher than average testosterone.
When you take their testosterone, does it correlate with their rank?
Yes, it does. The more testosterone, the more subordinates you have.
Now, this could just be because power begets testosterone rather than the other way around, but it fits with the current view that testosterone encourages status seeking in men. How? Mainly by decreasing fear and triggering anger, says Lerner, both of which increase risk-taking.
Fear and anger have opposite effects when it comes to risk. We know that men are more likely to experience anger and to take more risks as a result of that anger.
So angry investment managers, angry CEOs do better?
We human beings are risk averse and just kind of on average leave some money on the table in investment situations.
Right.
So to the extent that risk taking is going to lead to benefits,
The testosterone enriched are at an advantage.
the male who is angry is going to really thrive in that environment.
So if testosterone can help explain which men rise to the top, does it also explain why it's so often men instead of women? No, says Lerner.
It's certainly not inevitable because there are places where you can see progress in society, but it is extremely rare. And part of that is the gender stereotype of what we hold in our minds. An angry woman is called a bitch. An angry man is called powerful.
So it does sound as if the deck is stacked against women ascending to the top of organizations, no?
It depends, I think, on what the patterns of ascension are going to be. To the extent that leadership can arise through building networks, through building coalitions, there's a path to the top.
And maybe in a corporate age of network and coalition building, the so-called advantages of being seen as masculine
President, good to see you again.
Hi, Jeff.
will eventually fade.
Phoebe Novakovic, General Dynamics.
After all, the chickens came home to roost after the financial crisis of '08. If and when there's another, you have to wonder if risk-happy fellows will still rule the roost. For the PBS NewsHour, economics correspondent Paul Salman reporting.